what is the definition of celibacy?
Okay.
Is that just no sex or no sexual anything? You know, like what is the full definition?
It's no sexual anything, man.
Yeah, you sure?
I feel like celibacy is
What's
whatever.
the 2025 definition? Yeah, I like where you're going.
I feel like it's
2025.
whatever you want it to be. You create your own rules. Who creates rules for you? It's your intention, but what's your intention behind celibacy?
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Real Deal Podcast, and our very first live episode. So we'll see how that goes. Everything's always a work in progress when we try and do something new.
Live Fikes 5, baby.
Yeah, so it is live recording on YouTube.
You can confirm that?
Nah, it says live recording. But, without further ado, with myself, B. Haley, and the best co-host in the world.
Wow. Mr. Cleon Deal. I'm here. Happy to be back, baby.
And a very special guest today.
Very special.
We have Miss Joanna Sanchez.
Hello.
So before we jump in, give us a little bit of background story of how we met, which is through online coaching, and then what you're currently doing now.
Yeah.
And while you do that, I'm going to check to see
If it's actually
if
going
we're
live.
We're just going to make sure we're there.
I love that. Yeah. So my name is Joanna, and I am now currently a life coach for women. I work with Embodiment. Embodiment is just a different type of life coach, which is all just using the body, using somatic, which just means going into the body, understanding what emotions in the body, and then healing that to then change our behaviors, our actions, our thoughts. So it's very different from like talk therapy or just talking or mindset coaching. It's more of using the body first to then come home to an answer. And it's really cool what happens. I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But what you were saying, we met back when I was a fitness coach. I was a very successful business coach, I would say. I loved what I did, and it was a really fun experience during that time. And I was just like in this really chaotic space in my life where I was just like success, entrepreneur, gotta go, like
Right.
always going, always striving, always achieving. And I created a really successful fitness coaching business. And in that, I was coaching women and men. And during that time, B. Haley came to me. I don't even know how. I think it was through like DMs or yeah, it was just
Social
through
media.
DMs, social media. And I was like, I think it was my first experience actually ever coaching a man. And I was like, well, I mean, my
it was
ex,
good. I got shredded though.
yeah, he did. I still have the before and afters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got to get
We
those
have,
up.
we have to see those. Yeah,
I need to get back to that.
yeah, it was really cool. I mean, because back in those days I was bodybuilding, and my ex-boyfriend was a bodybuilder, so I like kind of understood what the physique and the men and the macros and all that stuff. But honestly, I was just very intuitive with my coaching. I just like saw the body, and I just like always knew. I was like tapped into something, I don't know what it was, where I just knew like what was needed to be done and what exercises and all that stuff. And it's always so cool to have somebody support you too,
Absolutely.
But honestly, it was cool that he let himself be supported by a woman, most men actually wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Brandon, what made you
want
to do that? With her specifically.
I'm busy. I'm working, man working over here. No, I just saw that, she knew what she was talking about, and she had results, and she was constantly, at the time talking a lot on her own social media, and everything she was talking about made sense. So I was like, hey, let me reach out. Because at the end of the day, like learning it goes the same way.
Right.
If you learn how to track and count your macros, and all I really needed wasn't that, like I didn't know how to work out. I didn't need that part. I just needed to learn the nutrition part of it. And I needed somebody to hold me accountable because, at the time we were doing life insurance. Yeah. So it was like long days. And my favorite thing to go eat was a Wendy's 4 for $4. So it was like cheap, fast, convenient, tastes good. My mind liked it, but my body didn't. And, over time I started to get a little thick. And a little hefty. So I was like, hey, I need to learn this stuff now instead of, continue on the path that I was at, continuously gaining weight. And, that's what happened there. So.
Joanna, what got you into this coaching, women's embodiment coaching, and then also, the fitness and everything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like a lot of it was my own experience of just like ever since I was a little girl, I just knew that I was here for something. I didn't really understand what that was. And I remember going to this service one time. Unfortunately, a young man in my school had passed. And in the church, the pastor was like, everyone here is here on earth for a mission. And he fulfilled his mission and we're celebrating that. And that just hit me. I was like, we're here for a mission. And it was kind of like a remembrance too. Like as a child, I always knew, but then like that was like a remembrance for me of like, oh my gosh, I'm here for a mission. Like I'm here for something. Like, what is that? Right. And so I just grew very hungry in high school. And I was just like, I was doing sports, I was doing volleyball, I was very passionate about volleyball, and just always was really good at school too, was always really good at getting good grades and achieving and all of that. And I feel like I always had that in the back of my mind of like, what am I here for? What am I here for? I'm here for something. Like, and I was just very passionate. And so when I went to USF, I couldn't play volleyball because I wasn't as good to play at USF, right? And I got my academics all fully paid for at USF, and I was like, all right, I'm going there. But something felt like it was missing. Like I wasn't doing volleyball anymore, and so I got into bodybuilding. And so that, that was really cool, and also just created a lot of health issues for me and a lot of mental health issues. And I didn't really realize till after, when I did the deeper work, that I was just doing it for external validation, to be seen, to be loved, to be heard, because I didn't get that in my childhood, in my household, right? Yeah, we're gonna go deep. We're gonna go deep here. And so a lot of it was for that external validation. And so that took me on a path of like going just so hard and just being so deep in my masculine energy, which is just like the go, go, go. I had no idea what feminine energy was, and like being connected to my body, being connected to my heart, to my intuition. I was just like constantly going. And that like, I reached the darkest point in my life where like my hormones were all messed up. My body was completely messed up. My gut health was so messed up. Like fatigued all the time. I was like 22 years old, and I went to the doctors, and they're like, you have the hormone panel of a 7-year-old menopausal woman. You're going to have to take hormones.
7 or 70?
70. And they put me on a bunch of hormones that I just felt so off. And so, through all of that adversity, I felt like I was always turning whatever was my mess into a message to then support other people.
Mess to message.
Yeah. And to support other people. And so once I graduated from USF and I got my degree in exercise science, and I was working for this hormone company, actually local, Titan Medical Center. I was working for them. And in that time, I was just like, I can't be working in an office. Like, it's just not meant for me. And I had so much anxiety. And then during that time, I found like law of attraction and manifestation. And I was like, oh my God, my thoughts can change my reality. This is so cool. Like, I need to do something with this. Like, I'm experiencing all this adversity with fitness and bodybuilding, and I want to turn it into something and support people and like teach people how to love themselves. So I hired a mentor because I was reading like You're a Badass. If anyone's read that book, it's one of like the first personal development books.
Yeah, you got me to read that.
Yeah.
Or I listened to the audiobook of You're a Badass at Making Money.
Yeah. So it was like,
sincere.
Yeah. So I like listened to that, or I read that book, and she always talks about like hiring a mentor and having people support you. And I was like, I'm hiring a mentor. Yeah. And that mentor was like, whenever you make X amount of money in your fitness coaching business, just leave your job. I was like, bet. Did that within like a month.
Okay.
I did that within like a month. My second month of fitness coaching, I made $15,000. That was the most money I'd ever made in my life. And I was like, what is this? Like, all of this works. Right? And so long story short, I just kept doing that. Like I kept doing fitness coaching. And then I got to a point where, I was partying all the time. I was drinking all the time. I was taking drugs. I was like trying to survive and like always seeking for something to fill me up and bring me pleasure. And I got to this point one time where I was like, I took acid actually at a festival, and I was like, I just felt all of my unconscious thoughts become conscious of like how judged I felt by people. I was like, I am putting up this persona and this mask that I'm like this confident person, But deep down inside, I just feel like no one likes me and that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just absolutely being judged by everyone around me. And I'm so afraid to actually be seen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I also worked at a nightclub on the weekend. So I like put
Oh,
up this
yeah.
Yeah, I
Hey,
put
that's
up
what we did.
at the Ritz. At the Ritz. I worked at the Ritz. Yeah, I was a bottle girl at the Ritz.
Okay.
And so I knew how to put up this persona,
Right.
but deep down inside, I wasn't that.
Mhm.
And so that took me on a path where I was like, I need to hire somebody. Yeah.
All right, I think we finally got everything figured out, but
Yeah.
we gotta love technology and learning it, and you know, you just gotta be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And continuously try and learn, because we're not great with technology, but
I mean, this looks amazing, so I'm proud of y'all.
we appreciate that.
you. Yeah.
But Joanna was talking about how she was in nightlife.
No, I went past that.
Yeah, she did. But she did.
So
but
Joanna,
I know where I went. I know where I
I'm
was.
talking about nightlife.
okay, Brandon wants to talk about that.
All right, you talk about nightlife.
Because Joanna was talking about it, and this is a relationship podcast. You know what I'm saying? So, like, how long did you work at the club?
I worked at the club for 4 years, all through college.
Okay.
And how were some of the? Were you single or dating while you worked at the club?
Oh, I was single.
You were single?
Yeah.
Why? Because it wasn't good for your relationship?
Well, I had a relationship in high school and he was like my high school sweetheart. And then when I went to college, things started to shift because I wanted to live my college lifestyle.
Yeah.
And he was like living all the way across the state. And yeah, I mean, back then I was a mess. So I was just kind of like, I never really felt like he was going to be the person for me.
Mhm.
So that's why I went for that. But yeah, I was single during that time.
So how do you think working at the club affected some of those relationships that you created there?
That I created in the club?
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is about...
And do you still have any... that doesn't have to be like just sexual relationships.
No, yeah.
But like, and do you still have any of those relationships, or was it all just superficial because of the environment you were in?
Well, the thing about this, and I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I feel like everywhere I went, like I always craved deeper connection. So I just always created that space for myself, even back then when I didn't have a deeper connection to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have I had good friendships. Like I had a friend that I worked with all those 4 years and I loved her so much. And like, we still reach out here and there. She reaches out more than I do, unfortunately, because I'm just so freaking busy. But yeah, I still have that connection with her. And there were, I noticed that there was a lot of like superficial stuff happening, but I just wasn't involved in those things. I honestly, most of the time just went to work, got out and made my money and that's it, you know? I didn't really feel as like inclined to hang out with everyone outside of just the work environment, just like my one girlfriend, you know? Yeah.
You got any questions?
So obviously in that space, because you know we're in it now. We understand obviously how, at least on our end, there's sometimes a little bit of temptation regarding this. From your side, obviously, as a woman, I think we've had a discussion before where we feel like when girls see guys in the club, it's a different perspective from what we see it as. Like y'all are less inclined to want to engage with men at that point. So talk to me a little bit about that, like the things that you would see there. Would those things make you a little bit more inclined to maybe want to talk to or pursue somebody, or you're like, yeah, nah, this I want to get away from that?
Yeah, I actually, it's so funny because like I said, my brain, like thinking back to those days, I feel like I live a completely different lifestyle now, but I feel like back in those days, like when it came to like the men that were there, I never felt inclined to be connected to them.
Yeah.
You know, I never really did, or to be intimate with any of the men that I worked with.
Yeah.
You know, and even like people that would come to the tables and stuff, I just didn't really feel like I wanted to. I don't know. I just never got involved in that way.
None of it really floated your boat, right?
Yeah, like it didn't. Yeah. I mean, and back in those days, I mean, I was more probably interested in like fraternity guys in college, right?
Oh, okay.
I was probably
I was never in a frat.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you were. Yeah, right.
I was in a fake.
He was in a anti-frat,
Anti-
anti-hero,
Wait,
like
we're,
heroes
we're
and
deep,
anti-heroes.
what is
Whoa.
Just kidding.
Don't disrespect me. I'm older than that. Crap.
Okay.
Are you? What year did you graduate?
There, go ahead.
I don't know if I want to share this publicly. 2016.
2016. Yeah, we graduated in 2018.
I'm
Yeah.
a little old.
Yeah, you are old.
Yeah, no. Back in that time, which college was thank God for growth. You know, thank God for growth and learning. But no, I went to a state college, got my AA first, which I probably should have stayed there because that's where I developed my good habits. And I came to USF, because my best friend was there, and that's where I developed all my bad habits.
Same.
But they were in Sig Ep, and then everybody dropped and created Sig X.
Oh yeah.
So Sig X isn't dead, if you guys are wondering. We're still thriving.
Yeah, I remember when the whole Sig Ep thing happened. It was during my year.
Yeah, so then it created Sig X. Yeah, because it was 2 years after.
Yeah,
it sounds like a scandal.
It's just a fake fraternity. We just had fun, and
Yeah, they did all the fraternity stuff without the rules.
Without the rules. So just imagine a whole bunch of young, dumb, and full of
on the loose
bad decisions,
terrorizing
children,
women.
Getting started. So, but I think we have the live stream figured out, so that's a good thing.
Cool. I'm curious though,
and I can see questions here if they are in there. You have questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yeah, you're not allowed to answer or ask questions. Oh, actually,
you say I can ask questions.
It's International Women's Month, so
women are allowed to ask questions this month.
Women are allowed to ask questions this month.
That's fucked up.
Fellas, whether you give them an answer or not is up to you. I'm just kidding.
You don't want to get my feminine all raged up over here. You know what I mean?
We might.
Oh, girl.
So your question.
So my question to you is, why did you ask me that question? How does it reflect to you and your relationships inside of the club?
Jesus.
You got to be careful what you open with her, because anytime I answered or asked her a question, whoa, why are you thinking like that?
I'm curious.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, and it's like, oh my God.
Now I got to think a little deeper.
So the reason why I wanted to ask the question, because we had a bottle server on before, and kind of we had a similar discussion. So I wanted to see kind of what your perspective on that was, kind of what your thought process was on that. Me personally, how do I say this? I'm glad that I got pulled into this when I did and not earlier. Is what I'll say.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Would you have made the choices that I had made?
Brandon.
Does everyone know the choices you've made?
I probably would have made worse choices.
I've been working at the same club for 5 years. So
yeah.
In that time, I've been in 2 relationships. So that and those were only about 2 years at a time. So the other 2 years of the time, 2.5. Yeah. I'm single.
Boy, he was running up wilt numbers.
So when you ask a woman if they're interested in a man at the club, that's why we're not.
First of all, I haven't had sex in almost 6 months.
Whoa! Oh wait.
Oh shit! Hey man, shout out to you, Celibacy. Drake actually just dropped a song called Celibacy.
Hey.
I feel like me and Drake are always on the same wavelength. And here's why.
Yeah, talk to me.
Ever since his first album, which is Take Care, that came out.
Well, Take Care was not his first album, but go ahead.
Well, first big album.
Okay, right,
first big album.
Yes. Just want to make sure
that's when he was first big album, because everybody still knew him as the Degrassi wheelchair kid at the time until Take Care happened.
Yeah,
and that was at the same time when my very first relationship ended, the one in high school.
Yeah,
so Marvin's Room,
binging Marvin's Room in his corner.
I could sing that song fully back then.
So why are you excited that you are not excited, but why are you happy that you started later and not earlier?
So if I had started working at the club when I was 23, 24 years old, I was a lot less disciplined at that time. to preface it, when me and Brandon and I sold insurance together, we were both in some interesting interactions and relationships, which we talked about a lot about on episode 4. So my decision making at that point hadn't quite improved from those. I was just not in the space to make those decisions. So what I always tell people is that, especially when they're in a relationship, you don't know how faithful you are until your faithfulness is tested. So obviously in my head, I'm doing better, but I also know that I'm not in an environment where it's going to be testing me. So if I was transitioning from there to that environment of this nightlife out there in the streets with all the interesting characters that we get to run into, I could certainly have seen myself probably starting a certain type of lifestyle that I probably, makes it a little bit tough to get out of, that I probably would enjoy a little bit too much. But yeah, so I'm glad now, because my mindset now is that I'm, away from that. I'm currently in a relationship, so obviously that makes that easier to stay away from that.
There's still temptation though.
There's absolutely.
Always,
I mean, for men, like, it's in your biological nature to see women in whatever ways y'all see women.
I just close my eyes.
You guys love women. Like, you see a hot woman, you're gonna look at her. It's the way your biology works. So I can only imagine what you're coming across on a day-to-day basis, working, well, not a day, but on a weekend basis.
Yeah,
working there and being in a relationship, and like how much that's strengthening your ability to stay devoted to your relationship rather than to let temptation take over.
Yeah, when I decide to get married, I have to quit. So is
that a rule in your relationship?
It's a rule that I have to make.
You don't have to quit. You just could be like the owner of something else.
Yeah,
so you don't have to be there.
You could be the Real Deal podcast taking off, and you don't need to work there.
There we go. Yeah.
Well, we got two people watching it live.
There we go, baby.
And one is Cleon. So.
I was just here to check to make sure it was up.
The other one is me. I'm just kidding.
It took us also like 20 minutes to figure it out.
Yeah.
Man, technology is crazy.
Yeah.
But on that note, this reminds me, since, kind of on the note of celibacy.
Yeah.
And what is the definition of celibacy?
Okay.
Is that just no sex, or no sexual anything? Like, what is the full definition?
It's no sexual anything, man.
Are you sure?
I feel like celibacy is
what's
whatever.
What's the 2025 definition? Yeah, I like where you're going.
I feel like it's whatever you want it to be. You create your own rules. Who creates rules for you? It's your intention. But what's your intention behind celibacy?
To not have sex.
Why?
So I don't put my thing in other women that I don't have intentions of marrying.
Okay, there you go. Because you're committed to.
Or so that I don't get blinded by my head.
Yeah.
And the other head before I know in my heart that I actually want to be with this person.
There you go. So that's your intention.
What I realized is that's what I do. I do what I thought women did, which is get attached after I have sex with them.
Oh,
Brandon's a super lover boy.
Yeah, I know that. He is a lover boy.
Yeah. So on the topic of celibacy, it's funny. We kind of had this conversation months ago, before you got into your relationship, and we're having a conversation and we're talking about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And, you were taking the celibacy route. You're like, yeah, I'm just like not doing that with anybody, it's kind of wait and not have sex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just don't know, I feel like you could have like a casual hookup on a regular basis. And, it'd be okay. But,
right.
I was still doing the work, always doing the work.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was very interesting that you had said that. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't know. You couldn't. And I'm like, well, maybe you can. And then, it started happening. And working in the club and not sleeping around and not drinking is, two of the craziest things that
I can imagine.
Yeah.
You're not even getting your money's worth.
Two of the craziest things that, be in that environment. And I tell you what, like, as a guy who is short and good looking, I don't have a hard time. Like I would be real. Like, I don't have a hard
Okay,
time.
but I'm curious because I'm a little confused what you were saying about our conversation, and then I said that, and then what happened?
It's just my brain starts to go places.
Did it just like spark something in you to like you started to question?
Yeah, I started remembering that conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like not as hard as you think it is
to be celibate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah, I was celibate.
So why did you decide to do it? Because I don't know, maybe that conversation kind of helped me think like, oh, I could do it.
I inspired you.
Yeah, your testimony, sharing your own story and your testimony, even in your casual everyday conversation, you never know how it can affect somebody else's life. And no,
that's epic.
I'm not going to give you all the kudos on that, but
some kudos at least. But like some, 5.
I think like why did you go into that space?
Yeah, well,
because didn't we get out of? I think we got out of a relationship kind of similar time because that's how the conversation started. Because like we were both out of one relatively similar. We were talking about exes.
Yeah,
and that's where the kind of the conversation. So what led you to go into that?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say thank you for sharing because I feel honored that I was able to be a part of that for you. But for me, I mean, it was just like after my last relationship, I kind of was seeing this one guy for like a month, and it was like this thing, but it was like very lustful and like sexual. Best sex of my life at that time. So I didn't,
shout out to that guy.
Yeah, I didn't see it as a bad thing, but there were some things that were missing that I didn't figure until later. But anyways, so I was seeing this guy for like a month, and then things kept happening where like I saw that guy for a month, and then my ex came back into my life, and then we tried making it happen again, and he was like, I'm so committed to you, like let's go, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm finally ready to commit to you, like yeah, I can see my future with you. And then once I started to like be open to that, he kind of like backed off, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like so much is happening right now with men.
Yeah.
And like
that's another conversation.
We'll get into that. But I like after that I went to Costa Rica, and I was in Costa Rica for a month and just like healing and working on like just releasing that relationship. And then I had like this one night stand with a Costa Rican dude that was like amazing. And after that, I was like, all right, that was great. I'm open, just so you know, I'll share anything.
It's
like,
it's a hot podcast.
Yeah.
Humble, open, and transparent.
Yeah, I forgot to ask because I'm just like so open about things. I don't care.
Yeah, where would you? Wherever you want to go. Let's go.
So I mean, people love that, right? They love like the raw stuff,
or they hate it, but who cares?
Exactly, the real deal people will get it.
It is called the real deal.
Yeah, the real deal people. But after that, I just like it kind of just naturally happened where I was like, I really want to go in a season of healing my relationship wounds with men, and I just deeply committed to that. And I was like, it just started to shift inside of me the deeper that I went within myself and like found my own self-love and my own connection to like myself in a deeper way, because that breakup like broke me, but it broke me wide open. Like it shattered my heart, but it shattered my heart wide open to a deeper understanding of me. And so during that time, I was like, I really honor my body. Like I really love my body. I honor my body. I honor my womb space. Like I don't just want anybody in here. I don't think that that's a bad thing, but that season of my life is just over. And I didn't know that what was happening in the most wildest way was that I was preparing for my current partner now.
Yeah, that's how I started to see it.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was what was happening, but it's like I had that same intention of like, if I don't see this person as somebody that I can truly be with, like for a while or possibly even marry, then what's the point of having that just for temporary pleasure? I can just please myself way better than just a one night stand.
That's what I say. I got two hands.
Yeah, like honestly, like self pleasure for women. If you're a woman listening, like go on a self pleasure route.
Go on that route, ladies.
Yeah,
I support you.
Yeah, because you got to know yourself before you teach your man how to do the thing.
Stop sleeping with the men in the club that are broke.
Yeah, that are drunk and probably can't get it up. Like you gotta be with the real deal men.
Not these
real, not these real deal men, but like the real men. Yeah.
So I want to go back real quick because Brandon, you asked a question that I want to make sure we have a concrete answer on. You asked, what is celibacy? And just to be clear on that, celibacy is abstaining from sexual activity. All of it.
Sexual activity. Okay.
Yeah, but guess what? Rules are meant to be broken. You create your own rules.
See, thumbs up.
Yeah, right.
Sexual activity.
Sexual activity.
So self-pleasure is technically breaking celibacy by that.
Well, it depends on what you're doing with self-pleasure, and if you want to go, we're not. I mean, I don't know if I should go there
I don't know.
because it's like if you're doing it to please yourself and to create a relationship with yourself, but if you're doing it in front of a screen, that's a different story.
that's okay.
Yeah, what about the people that do it in front of the screen?
Well, I feel
is that
like
wrong?
I don't think it's okay. I think it's a really deep addiction that really fucks the brain of the man, like bad, you know, and it teaches that that's what sex is, and sex is not.
You mean porn or OnlyFans?
Porn. And both.
Well, they're different.
Because you're pretty much
porn is acting. Some I guess you could say
you're energetically having sex with those people.
Yeah, you just
And so then when it's time for you to connect intimately with a woman, those things unconsciously are fucking up your ability to actually be present in your body and experience an absolutely amazing sexual experience.
So if somebody's going to, I don't know how we're back to this conversation of self-pleasure. If someone's going to self-pleasure, they should just use their imagination.
They should be feeling into the energy in their body and like connecting to that energy and breathing that energy and rising that energy up in their body. That is like, try it. It's amazing. It's like,
I know. I've done.
It's tantra. Like look up tantra techniques.
Oh, I've heard.
Yeah,
that,
like
that doesn't.
I just use. Yeah. Oh, she knows her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Love that.
We'll say it after the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, her name starts with an A and ends with an A.
No idea.
You know when you see her.
Okay. Well, you got to tell me after the podcast, so we're not putting people on blast here.
Oh, well.
I mean, we can say it. We could just mute it.
Oh, sure.
Nobody else would hear it. It would just be us.
Like whispering or like write it on a board. But yeah, it's like being able to form your own intimate connection with your own sexual energy. I feel like that is the most powerful thing a man or a woman can do because, you know, in my experiences of having just surface level sex and now having like fucking amazing cosmic spiritual, like I can't even explain what we experience in our sexual experience. And it's a lot because we're both understanding the energy in our own bodies, bringing that into the connection, not just fucking and like humping each other as like like masturbating with another body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's more of a lust thing. But to touch on that too, like I have experienced that with, you know, an ex.
Yeah.
But you know, just because we did that, like, you know, that relationship still ended up with me going to jail. So, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, sexual chemistry is something, and if you're tapping in, I believe, you know, in a lot of spiritual stuff, if you're tapping in on a soul level, because sexual energy is, I mean, that's what I believe, like the closest we will ever experience, like.
Oh no, it was a like souls touching.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like what we were talking about earlier with embodiment.
And then it was handcuffs touching me a year later.
Oh, I thought you meant
like I thought he meant too. I was like, ooh, y'all went there. That's cool. But
wait, what?
Nothing.
We
get it. Yeah, we get it. But I mean, that's like soul level connection. But then the traumas can be getting in the way and creating the other experience,
making it even better.
Yeah, the traumas can make it. I mean, where you guys aren't compatible. So sexually and energetically, and probably on a soul level, you were compatible, but because you weren't probably aware of your traumas, that toxicity was then.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. But you know, like I always say, thank God for growth.
Thank God for her for reflecting that to you. What did you learn in that?
Well, I don't drink alcohol anymore.
That's good. So thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of good things came from that. You know, I haven't drank alcohol since.
And you probably started this because you weren't drinking alcohol.
This actually was an idea before then. And then, you know, it was a lot of dark stuff going on in that 3 months until I met the next ex, which was, you know, she was there. We had a great relationship, ended on good terms. And she served her purpose in life, which I think that's important to realize. Like when people come into your life, like what are they here to teach you? Like what is
100%
their mission for your life? Like why are they in your life? And, you know, I always look back on that one and, you know, I try to work it out after the fact as well. And, you know, just is dead, you know, it's expired relationship and it is what it is. But you just look back and it's like, okay, well, it was if you ever been arrested and you never thought you'd be arrested, like that's just one thing to go through at a time. But at that time, there was like another thing going on, some baby mama drama, some crazy, some crazy stuff going on in the workplace.
Brandon's a wild boy, man.
I was a wild. We are not going to lie. I was a very wild boy. So,
but he had to learn through his wildness so he can be a man now.
Eventually, yeah. You know, you got to grow through some
especially
things.
Men.
And
y'all have to go through
That's what I had to do. And you know, I just look back on that, and she was just there to literally make sure I was sane, and that was her purpose. And after that, you know, do a little bit more growth and learning, and you know, figure that I don't like confrontation as much. I'm a very mellow guy. So I never fought. I never tried to fight. Obviously, probably because there was a lot of fights in the previous one before that. But I think it's important to look back on those relationships and see what they served in your life. And I know we talked about your last one before this. What was I say his current name?
Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver. Yeah, you said that. Okay. So before Oliver, I just didn't know if we were saying names for him. But yeah, before Oliver, I remember that actually we had chatted maybe, you know, like a year ago, whatever, a while ago when that was going on. And, you know, you talked about, you know, he kind of came back and left. How did you finally let go of it? Like, what kind of work did you do to let go of that? And if somebody else is going through something like that, what are your words of wisdom to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the work was sitting with myself and being with myself and asking myself what part of me keeps attracting men that are not ready to fully commit. Mm-hmm. Right. And that part of me was the little girl who never felt like her father was there for her or like ever had a masculine presence to be there for her. And so what happened as a little girl, I started to create this, I call it the Prince Charming frequency, where I was like, I need a Prince Charming to come and save me because I don't have my father, because I don't have a masculine figure in my life. And then as a little girl, I mean, you're bombarded with like Disney movies, right? About a Prince Charming coming to save you. So there's actually, I see this in a lot of women unconsciously, they're waiting for that Prince Charming to come and save them. And if you keep waiting for somebody to come and save you, you're only going to attract people that are not going to do that. You're going to attract people that like are avoidant and people that are not fully ready to meet you because no one can save you besides yourself. You know what I mean?
The Cheetah Girls made a song about that.
Did they? I love the Cheetah Girls, but I don't remember.
Yeah, they said something like, I don't want to be like Cinderella.
Oh, yeah. For somebody. Yeah. I do remember that. That's funny. Yeah. But my invitation for anyone moving through that is like, spend time with yourself, do the deep work and heal like your relationship wounds from your past, understand like how your family dynamics, like your mom and your dad and how they related, how does that affect your dynamics relationship wise? Because that's what you know, that's what you experience. So you're probably going to behave the same exact way that your family did. And also your relationship to your father. What is that? A lot of women don't have healthy relationship with their father. So they're constantly
daddy issues.
Yeah. They're constantly searching for a man.
But guys can have daddy issues too.
Yeah, absolutely. They're constantly searching for a man to come and save them. And it's just never going to happen. You know, you have to save yourself. And when you do, and you like heal those parts, and like, I mean, we can go really deep because the stuff that I went into was really intense. Like I went to Costa Rica and I was in a treehouse for 3 weeks all by myself, just doing deep work, having crazy dreams around like just releasing so much around like past partnerships and ways that I allowed men to treat me in my life. I like did so much work around that. But yeah, my invitation is to just spend time with yourself, get to know yourself. That's why I do embodiment. Like if I didn't have the tools and the skills to take myself to that depth and understand why I kept attracting somebody that wasn't committed, I would have just seen myself as a victim and be like, oh, you know, it's just, I just don't have any luck. And then I would have kept attracting men that wouldn't be able to commit to me. And so from shifting that, we're all energy, I shifted that frequency inside of me and I came to my own worthiness that regardless of a man in my life or not, I'm already whole. I'm already complete. Like I'm already a child of God as I am. Like I don't need anyone to fulfill anything. When I got to that state of embodiment, like I was like, fuck it, dude. I'm not even looking for anything. I feel so good in my own essence that like, I know it's inevitable for me to attract an amazing man. Like I just knew that and felt that. I just wasn't, I let it go. I was like, I don't really need it right now. And then my current partner, I mean, he and I were friends for like 6 months before we actually started to like, before I started to open up to him. But he was like, he was always there and persistent, but not in a creepy way. And I really loved that. It was like wanting to keep the connection going because he felt something. But in the beginning stages of us connecting, I was like, I wasn't even attracted to him. Like, I was like, I don't even, like, I don't see anything here. But because I wasn't open for a man that felt safe. And I remember when we were first starting to talk, I was like, honestly, I feel that if like I let you into my life, you're going to love me so much. And that scares me because I'm not used to that. And like I had to also work through that part of myself that didn't feel worthy of a man that would absolutely love me so much like he does. And so I had to work through a lot of, it's all within. Everything in your external is just a reflection of the internal. So doing the deep work, going deep within yourself, asking yourself the deep questions, moving through those emotions. We need support. That's why I'm here. Right? Embodiment practices to move through those things, release the shit that you keep, the energy of why you keep attracting that. And then you become an energetic match for what you actually know to be true, what you actually feel inside that you desire in a partnership. So does that answer your question?
It does. I already forget that I had a question. We were just going deep into the embodiment stuff, but yeah, it makes sense, you know. And we talk about it all the time. Everything that you see in your childhood, you know, affects how you act today.
Yeah.
And if people are like pissed off at you or whatever, that's really not a reflection of you or the kind of person you are. That's more a reflection of them and how they were raised. And one of my favorite things that Cleon always says is you either accept or reject what you saw as, you know, you're a child.
Yeah.
And I think that's super good, especially when we're talking about the movie, the It Ends With Us movie, how, you know, the domestic violence stuff.
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, well, you just watched it. Did you watch the Gabby Petito?
No. I'm like not connected. I literally live like if I lived in a forest.
Well, I am
I'm not connected to like television and stuff.
I'm a
I'd love to know.
Advocate. So, you know, I gotta watch.
Hold on, a domestic violence advocate.
Wait, you advocate domestic? No, you probably didn't say that right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I just want to make sure you say it right.
Yeah, because for the listeners, this is important. Healing domestic violence.
Make sure they know what you're saying.
Yeah. We know, but they might not.
I advocate for people to not do that.
Yeah.
What's the word? They had those walks. What is it? Well, what's the proper term?
I don't know. And
you know what I mean? No, I don't know.
Brandon does not like domestic violence. Okay, yeah. Anti-domestic violence.
I advocate for victims of domestic violence. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Advocate for the victims of domestic violence. Yeah. So those two, that movie and that is an actual documentary where the chick actually gets murdered by her boyfriend. Yeah, you need to go watch that.
I feel like I do need to watch that.
You need to go watch that.
Also, idea, if you're so passionate about domestic violence and stuff, what if you had your people start donating to the show and donate to a good cause?
What people?
People that...
Oh, the people that listen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the Patreon. I got to redo the Patreon. But yeah, I mean...
It's just a little nugget. People want to give to a good cause. I would give it to a good cause.
We're starting a nonprofit here.
Heck yeah.
EIN's coming. It's not a nonprofit for that. It's actually a nonprofit for children in fatherless homes. So.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember. So, that's cool.
The EIN's coming in, and that's the first thing. But yeah,
I have a question.
Any other ones that are around here?
Yes, ma'am.
About your relationship.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it live.
We're talking about relationships here. So. Yes, ma'am. Are you comfortable sharing?
I'm good.
Yeah. So.
Good luck.
What is your favorite part? Actually, what have you learned about yourself in your current relationship?
Ooh. I've learned that I'm a talker and I've always been good at talking. So talking is a skill for me. The problem with that is that I have a tendency to talk around things. So I can be asked a very direct question. What'll happen is that when I'm asked that question, I'm a person who wants to make sure you understand what my thought process is, because I've said plenty of things that got taken in a way that I didn't mean it. So I'll have a tendency to kind of really over and over and over explain it because I want to make sure that you understand that what I'm saying is not a shot at you, but this is where my thought process is. But what happens is that she has a little bit of trouble of getting the answer that she needs from me because of the way that I explain things.
So what has that taught you about yourself?
I have to talk to people the way that they hear and not the way that I speak.
Interesting.
That is very interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be more direct.
Well, be more direct for her. Basically, however she, because obviously people hear things in different ways. I can say I like you to some, or I can say I care about you, and somebody will take that as you care about me, and another person will take that as you're madly in love with me, or just so I have to understand what her language is, not just love languages, but her everyday language. So that way, when I talk to her, whatever message I'm trying to convey is what she's hearing, but obviously in a way where I don't have to kind of do a bunch of running or, extra wording to try and get to that.
Yeah. So it's like more direct based on like what's going to support how she will receive it.
Correct.
Wow.
I'm also actually, since we're talking about my problems, because I think she's watching. So,
hey,
because she
I love this.
she sent me a text and asked about the live stream and asked me, is it only supposed to be on Brandon? I was like, I think the camera thing.
I can turn the camera.
Well, I mean, no, you don't need to. It's fine. But she can hear us all, so the audio is good. So
Yay!
That's great.
Hey, what's her name?
Her name is Migdalia.
Migdalia. Is she Hispanic?
Yes.
Hey.
Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican. Yeah. I'm Cuban, so.
Oh, Jesus.
PTSD.
Yeah,
Someone get me out of here.
I didn't learn the first time. So yeah,
you're talking about your problems.
Yes. So my problems. Allegedly, I'm not very affectionate. And maybe a little bit too practical. So number one, because although I did come from a very loving home, I promise you I did. Like you wouldn't know it by the way that I don't care for any sort of cuddling or any sort of like physical embracing or anything like that. So obviously that's not something that she's a fan of. Very much of. And also words of affirmation. As good of a talker as I am, she, like I said, there's some times where once again she's just not getting everything that she needs from me in terms of what I'm explaining to make her feel good. I understand that women need things, obviously, to hear things to make them feel better. And so I get that, and I've always understood that, and I'm really good at that before I got into my relationship, I want to preface that I was very good at making girls feel very good with words before I was in a relationship. So when I was out there and single, I could just talk because I can talk freely because there's no real weight behind whatever words that I'm saying. And I'm really good off the top. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to just say whatever, but now it means something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever I say has to be exactly what it is, because obviously now that's something that you should be able to take to the bank, because that's what I'm saying. I'm not just here having fun anymore.
Yeah.
So working on it, work in progress.
It seems like what's missing is just you being deeply connected to your heart rather than just your mind.
Yeah.
She wants to feel your heart.
We did that for you. I put the camera on.
That's what women want to feel, the man's heart, right? And so as the feminine, our gift is to be able to bring a man into his heart too. So when a woman is embodied in herself and she has that confidence in herself, she can support a man and being like, hey, baby, you're way too much in your head. Let's drop in a little bit. Let's drop into your heart. How do you feel right now? Let's talk about your feelings. Let's talk about your emotions. And I feel like your connection to your heart is going to allow you to want to be more affectionate and to want to be more loving. So it's normal. Unfortunately, nowadays, I believe that men are so much more disconnected from their hearts because of how much they've been programmed, and even women, to be in their minds all the time. But
so let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because because what a common complaint among men is, and I would love to get your feedback on this. What a common complaint is, appreciate you, Brandon. What a common complaint among men is that when they do open up to their woman, they don't feel heard or seen and things of that nature, because what happens is that if I tell you about a problem that I have, let's say, especially with you, you take that as a time to now be angry at me instead of trying to and trying to fix what it is.
And then we shut up,
and then we shut up. It's like that saying goes: if you're mad at me, I have to fix it. If I'm mad at you, you get mad at me for being mad at you, and then I still have to fix it.
Yeah, there's this beautiful skill called authentic relating, and it's like when one person knows themselves and understands that if somebody is sharing something, it does not have anything to do with them. And I mean, it might, but if somebody's sharing a trigger, can you hold space for that trigger without taking it personal?
Yeah.
And then shift the energy to me and say, hey, I'm actually feeling, based on what you're sharing, this is making me feel this way. And I know it probably has nothing to do with you, but it is triggering me. Let's talk about this together.
Yeah.
Let's go back into being a team. But the problem is that most women, unfortunately, which is why I do the work that I do, most women are not aware of why they're being triggered. And so then they're projecting right out to the man. And so if a man is coming to her to share his heart and she doesn't know how to hold space for that because she doesn't know how to hold space for her own heart just yet, she's going to see it as an attack and then project back out.
Yeah.
And so it's important to have clear communication, but it's important for both parties to be doing the deeper work within themselves so they understand their emotions to then be able to bring it together as a team and not argue, but instead like see each other in that situation. So for an example, I recently got triggered in my relationship because there's some things showing up that are actually my own fears showing up, right? Like he's taking his time to grow into his masculine and to like be really committed to his purpose. And he has a purpose and he is committed, but it's not like the picture of what I want it to be. And that's where my like conditioning comes in. And in my last relationship, I spent 3.5 years waiting for somebody to actually create something in their life. And they didn't.
Right.
As a man, like he just wasn't ready, you know, it wasn't my fault or his fault. He just wasn't ready, but it like made me feel unsafe. And I don't like that. I value a man being committed to his purpose and his mission, right? So like recently I experienced a trigger and I was just like overloaded with emotions and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can understand that this has nothing to do with him. This is because I have an inability to trust men because of my last relationship and because my father wasn't in my life and because of the past masculine experiences that I've had.
Right.
So even though I want to project this onto him and have an emotional outburst, I can sit with it and communicate from that place of like, hey, babe, I'm sorry that I'm acting this way right now. The reason why I'm acting this way is because there's old triggers showing up and it's really fucking uncomfortable. And I know I have to meet these parts of myself so that I'm not bringing it into this dynamic, right? So my ability to see that then allows me to communicate it better. And so I feel like that's important for a man to also be able to understand himself, to then communicate it to his woman from a place of like, I'm not attacking you. I love you. However, this is triggering me and we need to shift this in our relationship. Let's come together as a team, right? So my last point with that is I recommend for your relationship,
talk to me.
Weekly check-ins.
Weekly check-ins.
Asking each other every week. My partner and I do it on Sundays. It's like we go to the park or we just have like a date experience. You can make it really fun and just like, hey, what did you notice in this past week that made you upset that maybe we need to clear out? Oh, this made me upset because of this. Is okay, cool. How can we work on this together? Okay, this made me feel a little bit icky. Okay, what went well in our relationship this week? How can we celebrate that? Right. So like asking each other those questions, because sometimes in your everyday life, you're so like scattered doing things, especially if you're in your head a lot. You know, there's work, there's this. We have so many responsibilities. And then that intimacy starts to like fall apart. And so can you meet on a week-to-week basis to diffuse any tension between the relationship so that then you can continue to come into a team experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, nice and to communicate better.
And to communicate better. Yeah, it needs to be a priority.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times is
I just want Ian. Did you receive that? Like
I'm with you.
Yeah, cool.
Did you receive it?
Did I receive? Yes.
I need you to
close your eyes, take a deep breath, connect to your damn heart.
Connect to your heart.
Connect to your goddamn heart over here.
We didn't even do a breathing. No.
I wanted to before, but then I was like, no, I feel good. We're good.
We're already rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I'll forgive you for saying GD as well. But that's
for saying what?
It's okay.
What did I say?
It's all right. You were in the moment. It's okay.
What did I say?
It's okay.
Gosh darn.
Yeah. GD.
Oh.
But listen.
My bad.
Yeah, you're being you. It's like it's not anything wrong.
God loves me anyway.
Yeah, you're your own individual.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't say that. That's okay. But we'll be all right.
You want to fight?
Oh, no. I don't think I can take that.
I'm just kidding.
I've already had to throw hands with one Cuban woman.
Oh my
God! I'm kidding.
I would never. I would never.
Cuban women scared. No, I'm joking.
Listen, conscious women or conscious Cuban women.
But they're, women, I guess men can say things, and it's not always what they mean. You know, if you guys are living together and your significant other says you never do the dishes, you know, that she's not mad at you never do the dishes. There could be something underlying. So it's always important to listen to them, listen to understand instead of being understood when it comes to that. And that was one thing that I learned in you know, the previous one. And it gets hard. You know, it's difficult to communicate, you know, especially for guys that don't like to have
That don't.
confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be like,
It's
we're good, baby. You good? Do your thing. I'm gonna be over here.
Yeah.
But I had this question too that I wanted to ask earlier, and it could probably tie into what you said earlier. Is that you're attracted to a man that has found his purpose, so he's living in his purpose.
Yeah.
That's what you're committed, or you value a man that's committed to his purpose.
Yeah.
How does a man find his purpose?
Let me call my man real quick. This is what he works on. He's also a life coach. I feel like a man can find his purpose by like making space and time to be with himself and ask himself, why am I here?
Mhm.
Do you really just think you're on this earth at this time and all the things that had to happen for you to be here at this moment for nothing? Like space. There's so much chaos going on in our world. Men need space to be in quiet, to be in solitude, to understand those voices within, right? I feel like that's how a man can understand his purpose. And honestly, I feel like it takes a man a while, because man, my partner talks about this all the time. He works with like the 4 archetypes of a man. There's the lover, the magician, the king, and the warrior. And so the lover is like the romantic, passionate side of a man. The warrior is the one that's the protector, right? Then there is the magician who loves information and wisdom and spirituality. And then there's the king, the one that has his empire built, right? That like is fully committed to that, is deeply connected to God and how God wants to move through him and for him to create that in his life. And I feel like men don't get to their king energy till later in life, just because of all the distractions and just the immaturities and just also just like how much men have been told that they're not enough, or that they need to do this, or they need to do that, or they need to put this front and be this macho man, and like all these toxic masculine things that are keeping men from being deeply connected and making space to be like, all right, God, how are you wanting to work through me to serve your kingdom? Right? Like I feel like that is an important question for a man to ask.
Yeah, exactly. Asking yourself that.
Yeah.
And finding things that fulfill you, not just temporary
pleasures.
Exactly. Which is going to the club. Okay.
Well, you're not kidding with that.
Not kidding. But having sex with multiple women, like those are all temporary. Like you're gonna feel cool. You're gonna feel like your ego's on 10.
Yeah.
Like,
power.
Oh yeah, just like when we was talking to the kids when we was walking back to the garage last
night.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna say any names, but it's like this number this week. And I'm just like, yo, hats off to you, man. I remember, you know, having those conversations with myself, and I needed that to feel like I was good enough or feel like I was important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had my own daddy issues growing up. I didn't meet my biological father until I was 20. So it's like, I never had the dad that says, you know, you're a great son. You're doing all this. I still never heard that. You know, I still never heard that.
That's huge.
So it's like, well, I had to learn how to tell myself that, and I had to learn how to go through that.
Yeah.
And at the time during younger years, you know, that's what I did. I talked about before is like, if my friends would be like, hey, this girl's hot. If I could sleep with her, then I get the validation of them thinking now I'm the man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I never had my own dad telling me that.
So you're seeking for it externally through other male figures.
That's how it is. So I feel like
wild.
You're going to consistently not figure out what your purpose is if you're consistently letting those distractions into your life.
That is I feel like the biggest hindrance in a man's life is distraction and temporary pleasure.
Yeah, you might have just answered the next question that I was going to have. I guess the question I wanted to ask is, what are most men missing?
I feel like most men, they're missing that space to connect to themselves and to connect to how God wants to move through them. They're missing that because of what I just said, distractions. There's so many fucking distractions.
There's a lot.
And sometimes even being in a relationship that's not good for you is a distraction from your purpose, is a distraction from you being in that energy. And then it's also like for men to understand their archetypes, like which ones are more prominent in your life versus which ones aren't, and how can you create space to embody more of that other archetype. So let's say like Brandon, your lover is like activated, right? Like he's the lover boy.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, what about your warrior energy? Are you somebody that's willing to fucking like protect and like go hunt or like fight? Like, are you ready to fight? You know, like, would you be able to fight for your woman? Would you be able to fight for your family? Would you be able to fight for your kids?
Well, yeah, that's why I practiced self-defense with
Yes,
a weapon.
That's a great
with a weapon.
That's a great with a weapon.
Yeah, I'm 5'6". I'm not getting to I'm not getting into a fight with anybody.
Yeah, so I
and
feel
plus
like
this day and age, I don't know if you see it. We see it, working in the club and having a close relationship with the cops. Like and which is another reason why I want to do this nonprofit, is because it makes a lot of sense to me growing up without knowing my father, in the role that other male figures played in my life as mentors, and the role that football played.
Yeah.
To give the kids, especially the kids in Tampa, that outlet instead of resorting to all the violence. So
they're not fighting no more.
They're not fighting no more.
It's
so you need to learn how to protect yourself and your family by any means necessary.
Absolutely. That's important.
That's why I practice that as well.
Yeah, my partner also, his father passed when he was 16, and his father was like, never fully emotionally there for him prior to him passing. So it's like same thing. It's just like, if men do have those daddy issues, or like they don't have the masculine figure in their life, it's going to take a little bit longer for them to feel safe enough to create that empire, to be on purpose. And that's where the deep healing comes in. And another thing that men are missing is just being more connected to their hearts.
Mama Dios says
messing
up my camera.
I see her.
Is that your mom?
Yeah, my mom put in the comments. She said, "Why can't we see the other speakers? We got to figure out how it works. This is our first time.
We're gonna have it figured out."
I love that they're both supporting you. That's so great.
Yeah, appreciate them.
Two of your feminine women supporting you here.
Yes. My dad's not even supporting me.
Oh, that was the wrong one.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I think we'll have the live figured out for sure.
So I'm curious.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you're very curious.
What is one distraction in your life that you feel like if you got rid of, you would feel so much better?
Alcohol is not my distraction. I think right now is I'm spread thin between a lot of different places right now. So I work Monday through Friday at my Monday through Friday job. I come and work the club on the weekends, and then on Saturdays I also do this podcasting as well. I also do music as well. So I'm always either trying to do something regarded to social media content for music. I'm trying to edit episodes for the podcast. I'm trying to make sure that I have it. So right now I'm just in a lot of different directions where obviously that just makes it a little bit tough. But I'm doing most of this to obviously set myself up for a future, so which I can focus on one thing and then just kind of hit that as hard as I can.
Yeah. So what is one distraction you feel like?
I think I have too much. I just got too much going on right now. And because obviously the issue is that when you have too much going on, you jack of all trades, master of none, right? You don't end up mastering whatever that one thing can be. So I think that's probably what my issue is, just too much at the same time that I'm trying to focus on day to day.
Too much external.
Too much external.
Not internal.
No. Okay. Yeah. That's because we talk about like obviously things that we do that we try to do to, fulfill ourselves, advance ourselves, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, all that other fun stuff. Brandon likes to talk a lot about reading, and he talks a lot about how I don't read.
It's a struggle sometimes.
To
make space.
My book this next book's not about relationships, so I find myself not reading every single day because it's about negotiation,
right?
Which is also intriguing, but
yeah. So I'm working on that, and obviously trying to make the time for those things the stuff for myself development.
Yeah.
Really.
I feel like another thing that men are missing is community with other men that
Yes.
are
Big thing.
like-minded, that are growth-minded, that are headed down a path that are, you know, actually doing good things for themselves and like
we
can
literally
talk
about that.
Yeah, can talk about
times,
can talk about distractions and temptations and stuff, but be able to have a safe space to commune with each other. So I think that's something that men are missing.
So yeah, where I find my community is because I'm like I don't really go out and try and connect with a lot of other different people all the time, but is through Kodawari, one of the guys there, Fletch actually did like a men's mobility workshop. So it was all men. So
Nice.
and then we did the Nordic sauna. So hot, then cold plunge, hot, cold plunge.
With all men
so
and camaraderie.
So all men.
So important.
Just talking. And then Faith University Instagram is a Bible study that I do, a Bible study group. Well, I mean, I'm participating. I don't actually do it.
That's cool.
And that's every Wednesday. If you want to join that, it's like a guys fellowship.
Nice.
That Kenyon Barner, which is
shout out.
Yeah. Kenyon Barner, Ken John Barner, if you want to pronounce it correctly. KB for short. Had posted on his story, and it's a lot of like former athletes that are typically on there. A lot of like NFL guys and college athletes, and it's run by a Pastor Floyd, who I believe works at LSU. But it's just guys, having fellowship and talking about the temptations and stuff, and that's been super helpful to be a part of that kind of fellowship.
Absolutely.
Of men as well. So if you are looking for that and you need that in your life, I would definitely recommend follow Faith University on Instagram, and they'll post the link. I'm sure anybody can join. I don't think it's just NFL and former college athletes.
That's super cool.
That's what it mostly is. But and then just get if you're into yoga and stuff like that, Kodawari Studios is super dope as well.
Yeah. I feel like we're all missing community because we're so
you're not gonna find it
unaware. I mean, we're so like on. What'd you say?
You're not gonna find it at the club.
You're not gonna find it at the club.
That's not real.
You find your club community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the people you party with and distract yourself more with.
Yeah.
I mean, but then there's like one or two times out of the year that I go to a club. You might come across.
You could. Yeah. I mean, I have met people, in the club that have given like other financial opportunities in my life. So it's like it's not like just all bad people, but you need to have more than that because that's more the superficial level. It's not you're just going out there to get your quick fix. It's not anything that's going to be like long lasting.
Yeah, I love that you guys like work there and then have this podcast and talk about it. It's great.
Yeah,
it's good. I mean, it's good. Go get your release. Not everybody's as disciplined. So go get your release. So hey, come on out there. We're gonna be there. If you need help after that, come see us and we'll help you out.
Yeah, but it also works for us because since we're not too crazy about the lifestyle, it makes it easier to work there. Because obviously we work with people who love that life, and
there's people I can see. I go. If I'm there 5 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
There's
Sunday.
People that are there every day.
I see them 4 out of 5 times. I'm like,
freaking crazy.
Go home.
I'm like, bro, you don't like to just relax and watch some TV or something?
At that point, I just feel like there's an entity attached that needs to be worked through. Like a really strong distraction entity.
Yeah, that's what the club is good for. But I also want to title this episode "Love in the Dark" for multiple reasons. One being that's a pretty good Adele song.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did talk about that.
Did talk about that. Other being that there's some subliminal reasoning behind that title, which we'll talk about after the show.
After the show.
After the show.
Whoa, we got the after party. Y'all need the Patreon for that.
Yeah. Patreon.
You want the juice?
So I'm gonna figure out Patreon. And just get lazy sometimes, and then I'm an old man, so working at the club, and I like to sleep. And then it's like I'm tired. So, but I'll figure that Patreon out because I think we signed up as a consumer and not like the creator.
My bad.
But what does love in the dark mean to you, Joanna? And then the next question is
love in the dark. Well, I'm gonna go obviously spiritual with that.
Yeah, that's what I want you to do.
Yeah, I feel like in your darkest times, even though they feel like absolute ass and you're probably grieving and your heart feels like it's shattering to pieces, what's actually happening is you're learning how to love more in those dark times. And also, like, anytime you're experiencing darkness in your life, it's just an opportunity for you to love yourself deeper, for you to love yourself even in the darkness. So it's like, oh, I'm experiencing whatever the case may be, chaos or getting arrested. Can I still love myself for that? Can I forgive myself? Can I still be absolutely in love with myself through this dark period of time, and knowing that love is going to be the answer that gets me to the other side? So that's my
Cleon,
take.
I know you're not as like, crazy as us with that, but what is love?
I feel like Cleon's got something there. He's just a little busy right now, but it's inevitable for him. I can feel it.
love in the dark. So let me ask you this: is there a comma in this anywhere? Is it love comma in the dark? Is it just
however you want to?
It's whatever you. Yeah.
There's no wrong answers. It's just the name of the song, to be honest.
It's just the name of the song. Well, I mean, because there's a few different directions you can go with it, which is why I asked. So if we're talking about love in the dark, basically talking about whatever the things that maybe you love internally, maybe that you shouldn't, that you love privately away from other people. So the things that you hide from the rest of the world, your guilty pleasures or whatever your addictions that you have, or the things that you are partaking in that you shouldn't be.
Do you want to share any of those?
I don't have any.
He's like, I don't have any of those.
The things that you love in the dark, like I say, whatever is in the dark will come to the light. The things that you keep there intentionally. No,
I'll share mine. I'll share mine.
So that's kind of part of that, or also, I mean that's one way that I kind of think about that, is the things that you love that you are trying to hide from everybody else. You're loving it literally in the dark instead of loving it out loud, which maybe you shouldn't.
Have you listened to that song?
Love in the Dark by Adele. I probably have. I can't tell you what it sounds like.
Yeah, you probably know it because it's like on Instagram and some.
You want to sing it for us, Brandon?
Yeah, that would be great.
Come on. Show us your vocals, man. Come on.
You guys want to see me cry?
You can do that, yeah.
I'm kidding. Love in the dark, how I like kind of perceive the saying is, I feel like we are loving in the dark until like it comes to light. And what that means to me is that we don't really know, like sometimes we think we're in love, or we think we love to do something, but we don't. And it's because of the things that we distract ourselves with. So what I do when I reflect on my past relationships as to why they failed, a lot of it is, I talk about this on the other episodes, is like it was very lustful. And I thought that it turned into love. But you come to look back at it, you mentally, I was blinded. So I was loving in the dark because I didn't know any better at the time.
You didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
I didn't have the tools. Well, people give you the tools, but it's up to you. I didn't put the tools in my tool belt, but now they're in my tool belt because
you embodied it.
I went through it enough times to kind of there we go.
That's what embodiment is. If you're wondering.
That's what I don't like when she says it. So I don't know. It just sounds weird.
What, embodiment?
Embodiment. I like to put the tools in the tool belt. It's more manly.
Yeah.
My daddy issues are showing, all right?
Would you like to communicate about this?
What is your trigger? Love in the dark. That's my trigger. No. But that's what I feel like love in the dark is. And what else I want to communicate?
What?
Exactly.
Yeah. What happened? Where'd it go?
And then I wanted... Your mom's watching, so I don't know if I want to ask this question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, ask her.
She's going to listen to the beginning of the episode anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever it is, let's go.
Yeah, sorry. Well, this is the real deal. And if it's in my head, I think I want to ask it.
We love you, Mom.
Love in the dark. What's the darkest place you've had sex? Or the craziest?
Oh my gosh. Wait, the darkest place? Oh my gosh.
Well, it's love in the dark. I wanted to ask a question.
Okay, yeah, you're wild.
Or the craziest?
The craziest?
Costa Rica?
It wasn't that crazy. It was in a truck.
No, Jesus.
That's
not that crazy
that's
in
not
a
that,
truck.
Yeah, that's not that crazy.
Okay.
I mean, the darkest place I've had sex in was in a closet.
Literal darkest.
Well, it was actually at a closet in an Airbnb that was not just an Airbnb with me, with my current partner when we met the first week. It was like in an Airbnb with this other lady that was staying at the Airbnb, and I don't know.
Was that her closet?
No. It was the closet in the room, but I'm pretty sure she heard everything that was going on. It was pretty
Why
wild.
the closet?
It was the wildest experience of my life. I won't get into the details, but it was pretty wild. So that's what comes up when you ask that.
Did you not have a room?
We did, but you know,
why not? Okay,
yeah.
that's fair.
We're getting we're getting creative.
Getting creative.
It was great.
So, wait, you said with your current boyfriend, y'all did that?
Yeah.
Okay, so since I want to go back to the topic of celibacy, because you were like, you wanted to not save yourself till marriage, but like be celibate.
Yeah.
When did you decide that? Oh, I don't want to be celibate anymore.
Well, it was funny because
were y'all dating?
No, it was funny because
Lust.
No. I knew I was having
But how do you know for sure?
And
then you partake in it, and then it clouds it.
Well, if it was,
it just confirms what you're already believing because it's so lustful.
Yeah.
And it feels so good.
Yeah, but our relationship is definitely not that. I've had those experiences, but
how do you know?
What happened?
This time.
What happened was, I wanted to go visit him. He lived in fucking Delaware.
Hey, I'm from Maryland.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
I was like, Delaware.
We like Maryland.
But it's a really long story. It's a really beautiful story. But I was like, okay, I want to go book an Airbnb over there. Like, how is this going to work? Like, how are we going? You know, I'm celibate. I've been celibate for 6 months. I've been wanting to like wait, and I don't want to do that. And he was like, honestly, like, we don't have to. And I was like, it's not you that I'm worried about. It's me that I'm worried about. So that's what I'm trying to talk about here. And he's like, well, in that case, like, I mean, you know, we don't have to. Yeah. And then after that, I just kind of sat with it. And I was having a lot, like, we had known each other 6 months prior to that and had communication. And I just sat with myself and I was like, am I ready? You know, like, am I ready for that? And I was, and I felt it. And I was like, yeah, I feel like I can trust this man. And if I fuck up and realize that maybe I can't trust him, then I'll learn my lesson, and that's okay. But right now, this feels fine. So I'm going to follow that intuitive nature of like going there. And I was also having a lot of experiences where, like, I mean, this is a whole other topic, but when I meditate, I have like really intense visions and I can see really wild things and just experience like my connection to him. And so prior to meeting him, I was already experiencing like deep connection on like a soul level before even meeting in person. So I already knew that I can like trust him in that way. And it wasn't just like fantasy, you know, there was a lot that was like a lot that plays into it, a lot of details that I won't get into because it's a long ass story. But the first night that, because I went over there and he took me out and he took me to a show at night and we like had so much fun and we talked and it was like we were vibing. Like as soon as I saw him, I was like, holy shit, I've never felt so at home with anyone in my life, you know? And I was like kind of freaky because I was like, what if this is just like fantasy, like blah, blah, blah. It was a lot to get used to in the beginning of like how at home I felt with him and like how people always talk about when you know, it was like,
well, it's guys,
it's like when you know,
some guys can create that environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was still mindful of all of that. But like the first night we like vibed and connected and we went back home and slept together and he didn't try anything with me that first night at all. And I was actually really upset. I was like,
that's exact. Okay.
I was like, I was actually upset. I was like, I'm ready. Like, what's going on? I was like, well, also, I like you, but I need to know if this part is good because, you know, that's.
So big. that part is important.
Yeah, I feel like that part is important to me.
I feel like that's the Cuban talking.
No, I mean, that's the being connected to my sexuality talking.
No, I understand.
I don't think sex is a bad thing. I just think it can be really wrapped up into fuck-uppery. You know, I wouldn't just give myself to a man that I didn't feel like was connected to himself.
No, you know, that. I just think, I don't know. We live in a day and age that's so like sex has got to be good or like the relationship isn't. But I don't personally think that. I mean, you need sex. But
it has to be, it could be worked on for sure. It doesn't have to be a non-negotiable. It doesn't have to be something that's like, oh my God, if this sucks, like if it would have sucked, I wouldn't have just been like, oh no, you know,
Right,
I
but
would have been
also-
like, all right, let's work on this.
Also, I'm thinking as the guy,
Yeah.
and like I could teach a woman what I need.
Yeah.
But as a male, I don't need a girl that's going to be great at sex because I've already had that. And, you know, it didn't. She's not here. Well, she's here, but she's not with me anymore. You know what I'm saying?
She's not in this room.
She's not with me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that we're going into this. This is great.
that's like, I'd rather have a woman that's going to help me build and that's going to keep me motivated,
inspire you,
and that's going to know how I operate as a human. Like, know when I'm lazy, know when I need a kick in the ass, like know how I operate, because sometimes, you know, my emotional battery gets drained and I don't want you to talk to nobody, not even like if I'm dating somebody. Like, I need my space from you as well.
Yeah.
So I need somebody that's going to know all that part of me more than just know how I'm going to rock her world for 2 minutes in the bedroom.
For 2 minutes.
It's a joke. Oh my God.
That was funny. That was funny.
Right, come on. You know, you're short. You got to be a little funny. But I think it's important, but it's not that important, because at least from a male perspective, and you can ask a lot of people, they're going to be, oh, that's most important. That's most important. But it's like, what are your goals? What are your ambitions in life? If you think that sex is more important than those kind of things, like, I want to know, if I have a child with you, like, what are you going to be teaching them? How are you going to raise that kid? Or if I'm down in the slums, I have no money, what's our life going to look like then? If something happens and I lose it all or whatever, like, how are you going to help me rebuild it? Not that that's your job, but I'm going to need the emotional,
the inspiration,
support,
absolutely,
and the inspiration. Moreover of like how well we can do this.
Yeah. Well, and that's always something that I feel like I was talking about earlier, like your sexual experiences are just an opportunity for you to be more intimate together. And that's something that you get to communicate on. What does that look like for your relationship? It doesn't have to be this performative thing that's where the pornography thing fucks it up, because it doesn't have to be this performative thing. Like, your sexual experience can be whatever it needs to be to create
other things,
deeper intimacy. Yeah.
I'm a lover boy, so, you know, everything for me is like, I slow it down and all that. But some people like the
kinky stuff.
Yeah. And that's just not, they're like, slap me, spit on me, yell at me. I'm like, hey, I don't do that. I'm a lover boy. Go find the weird. I don't do that. I'm not going to abuse you.
I could never call
I wonder
you
why
those
they
names.
want to be abused. Who knows?
Yeah,
I'm like, no, we can't do that. So it's like,
Brandon would stop and say, "Can we just unpack that for a
Yeah,
second?"
In the moment, I'm just going to ignore it and do my thing, and you're still going to enjoy it, or you're going to fake it. So,
I'm excited.
Either way,
I'm excited for you to like attract that in your life, because I feel like it's inevitable for you to attract that with like where you're headed and what you're doing and like how much you've grown. I'm excited to see how that happens.
It's been a lot of growing. Thank God for growth.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Well, at least we asked a question. Sorry, Mama Deal. It's the real deal. It's the real deal.
She did say to ask it.
We just got
a question here on the live.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, we got to have, is he going to answer? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to read it out. And I like this because this, kind of relates. What happens if your partner chooses to become celibate during the course of your relationship? I think that's something that personally has to be done at the beginning. Reason being is you can't give them something and then take it away, because then their mind's going to wander, and you don't want their mind to wander. But I also will say that I use my sexual abilities to sexual abilities to, when I had that soul sex with the girl that I ended up dating, to get her to date me, and I did that because I knew that she was a very sexual person, and I did that by having a lot of sex with her in a shorter period of time. But then we started dating, and she wasn't getting it 7 times a week. I'm a, I only need it 1 time a week. Like I 1-2 times a week, I'm chilling. I'm working. So it went from 7 to 2, and then that caused issues in the relationship. So those are my thoughts on it as well. Cleon, I need you to answer.
Wait, did he answer the sex in the dark?
Yeah, he answered that one.
Oh,
No, only you answered that one.
Yeah.
No one else gets that question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
absolutely
Yeah.
Okay.
not.
So you got the question: what happens if your partner chooses to become celibate during the course of your relationship?
This is interesting. I guess what happens depends on whatever the discussion is. I think, obviously, as we talk about a lot, healthy communication in your relationship is key. So obviously, whenever you start a relationship, like you said, Brandon, with something, and then you want to then take that thing away, obviously, there's going to be a few rough patches during that. So I think that the communication definitely has to be there about why this is something that you want to do, and obviously if your partner is your partner, and obviously you guys have the same goals, because typically if they're going to be doing something like that, it's because I have something that I want to look forward in the future, and I want to make sure that we can connect, and even without this, to make sure that this is going to work, make sure the other aspects of our relationship make sense, because like you said, sex can cloud a relationship,
absolutely.
and so it'll make you overlook the other issues that are actually there. So once you take that off the table, now all the other issues are there and amplified, and you get to figure out what you really do need to be there and deal with.
So if your girlfriend had a lot of sex with you at the beginning of a relationship, and then she all of a sudden wants to stop having sex with you, what are you going to think?
I'm going to ask why. That's what I do with anything.
He does
everything. I'm going to say, so why do you feel like this is something that you should do, something that we should do?
Yeah.
What's the reasoning behind that? Because I'm somebody who I got to understand. Just like with most things in my everyday life, I got to understand. And if that is somebody that I do plan on having a long and prosperous future with, I mean, it's just sex. It'll be back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, something to look forward to.
Until it's not, because we get older and then we got to.
Well, it's for a period of your life, but obviously, stay healthy, gentlemen.
Get lots of sunlight and fluoride-free toothpaste.
You got to answer the question.
What was the question?
I ask it every time. I ask it every time. What happens if your partner chooses to become celibate during the course of your relationship?
Was that by a man or a woman?
Woman.
Women asked that?
Yeah.
Only women watch your show. No, I'm just kidding.
A woman asked that? Oh, I'm curious. I'm like, I want to know more about you. Why are you asking? I'm kind of the same, but...
Nah, you got to answer. You can't ask the audience.
So, yeah, I feel like also understanding the intention behind it, right? Like, what is the intention? Why are you wanting to do that? And does it align with your partner also to do that? And, I feel like it's just being able to honor your full self, right? Your sovereign self, which is just you honoring who you are in that moment. And if that's something that for sure you're doing because it's intuitive and it's like something that's going to support you, then do it. But if it's also like asking yourself the deeper question of like, why do I want to do that? Like, do I feel shame in some ways sexually? Do I feel disconnected from my partner? Do I feel like maybe somebody else is programming me to think that this is something that I need to do? Is this actually true for me? Asking yourself those questions first, like if they are the person that is wanting to be celibate. Does that answer it? Or I'm
listening. But I also want to ask, how much sex do you and Oliver have in a week?
Is he on? I told him to get on. I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, I told him to get on. A lot. I mean, it depends on my cycle, because as women, we go through 4 different cycles in the season in a month, right? So like, there's weeks where a lot, then there's other weeks where it's like, okay, we can possibly be having, like, I'm very fertile right now, so probably shouldn't.
So so if tomorrow he says we should practice celibacy and not have sex anymore, what are you gonna think?
He would totally never say it.
No. Okay, but he did say it.
But if he said it, then
what do you think?
that's a great way of putting it. I probably would also ask, like, okay, what is the intention behind this? Like, why are you wanting to do this? And if it's something that I can get behind, then I would honor that. I need to know why also to then be like, okay, I can understand you and I can hold that space for you. And also, like, I went 6 months without it, so
you could do it, yeah.
So I could do it.
I think it's it's difficult. And Mama Dear, I appreciate you. Love you. Next question is.
So we have people asking questions. This is cool.
What do you think a healthy frequency for having sex in a relationship?
Here we go.
Oh, like the amount of times?
Yeah, this is a good one because I feel like women are always going to say more than men.
Really?
So
I don't know. My personal opinion. I always
maybe just your reality.
But yeah. What do you think a healthy frequency for having sex in a relationship? I really just think it depends on the week.
It depends. I think you're trying to say that it depends on how busy your week is.
Yeah, I don't know. I did have a lot of problems with this in the last relationship because we started with it. Actually, the last two we started with a lot, and then I'm just like, I just don't need to do it as often anymore for whatever reason. And that obviously, if you go from doing it often to doing it less often, that raises concern in your lady.
I feel like it's normal also in the beginning to be like bunny rabbits, like, oh my god, this is so awesome, right? And then it kind of like slows down over time. But
is why it's so important to not have sex in the beginning. Because then you're just creating the relationship off of sex. And that's not what you need to get to know them as the individual, not know them or think that you know them or feel at home or feel safe with them. You actually have to literally know this person. And how long does it take to actually know this person? Typically 3 years. I'm not saying to wait 3 years.
I went 3 years. I couldn't even wait
I'm not saying to wait 3 years, but I also had this conversation with another lady. She responded to like one of the shorts that I posted and talking about like, oh yeah, like most guys aren't this like emotionally intelligent and they just want to have sex. And it's like, well, why are you giving them that? Oh yeah, you're right. I was like, okay, so how long are you waiting?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, you like the person and you do it. No, that's not how it works. Because now you're having sex with them and you're just thinking with the wrong. You're thinking with your head or you're thinking with your heart and not logically.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're still going to make decisions based on our emotions and less logic. But it's a lot. There's literally no logic once you start to incorporate the sex early. Because now you're just thinking like, oh, this makes me feel good. I want more of it. So I literally told her, I'm like, why don't you try waiting? Oh, yeah, maybe we should do that. I was like, 6 months. I can't do that. Well, we shoot for 6, aim for 3, whatever it may be. At least
just start somewhere.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. So if it's not working with what you're currently doing, maybe you need to switch the
maybe
game
you
plan
need to wait a little bit. Yeah, I see that.
And then she told me, I actually was talking to this guy who said he wanted to wait till he was married. And I literally told him to grow up. We're adults. And I was like, that was the one. That was your guy.
First of all, she's crazy.
Well, I understand the logic because where I was mentally 2 years ago. I mean,
why would you say that to a man though? That's sad.
Grow up, we're adults. It's crazy as a response.
Yeah.
It is, but like we live in a generation of people who always want to test drive the car before they purchase it. So that's what it is. But Cleon, what do you think a healthy frequency of having sex in a relationship is? This might be your question, to be honest.
I don't think any of these are my questions, but yeah, no.
This might be a question like for you.
Really? I mean, well, I don't know why.
Can you see if I put it on the stream? Can you see the question?
Yeah. What do you mean? Can I see the question?
Like on the actual video?
No, I see it in the chat.
Yeah, because I put it on there. Oh, okay, you only see it in the chat.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Sorry, I was reading the questions from the YouTube.
I mean, this question solely depends on you and your partner. I mean, what it is.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, not necessarily your agreement, but I think that let's talk about like right now in terms of dating. Obviously, it just really depends on obviously you guys, how frequently are you guys seeing each other? Number one, because that's also going to, if you're only seeing each other once a week, that creates the opportunity for sex once a week. But as far as what's healthy and what's not, it just really depends on you two. I think that this makes me think of I was watching Shark Tank, funny enough. And one of the ideas on the proposal was that they put this little light on the nightstand for when your partner wants sex. So basically they put the thing and it lights up if they're in the mood for it. And then basically their partner is to see that, so that, because people have trouble communicating when they, you know, hey, I'm in the mood to do this, but I don't know if you knew. Yeah. And so Mark Cuban shut it down. He was like, this takes away the opportunity for healthy communication in your relationship. Yeah. So I think what's healthy is that however much you guys communicate that you guys want to do it, as long as you both want to do it at every single time.
Yeah, Mama Dio got a great question. I'm gonna answer that in just a second.
Lord.
No, I love this question. I think it's great, especially for our generation. So
especially with the last episode that we just did.
Literally. No, I think it's a great question. All right, Joanna, what do you think a healthy frequency for having sex in a relationship is?
I can agree with what he just said about like just having that healthy communication with your partner, and also just like, can both parties honor their sensations and be like, hey, I'm in the mood, like, you know, how are you feeling? Or just like see how it goes. But like, for instance, for me, sometimes like I'm not going to be in the mood if I am in a certain week of my month, you know, leading up to my cycle. Like I'm not going to be in the mood. And so if he's like coming on to me, I'm just going to communicate, because I can have that healthy communication, and he's not going to take it personal or be like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? He's going to be like, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's just your cycle. And that's why I believe that like men should understand a woman's cycles to also understand when women want to be more in that experience and when they don't. So that's my answer.
All right. This is a good question.
I saw it.
Point of clarity. As men and women who love God, who are now more spiritually mature, why are you not waiting until marriage as he commands? Yeah, Clem, why are you not waiting until marriage? I'll go first. Yeah, I feel like this is a great question, especially for this generation.
I'm so excited to answer this.
Literally a generation. My first relationship, I said I was going to wait until I was married. And then it's like, you know, anytime you sin and then you continue to sin, it's easier and easier to continue to sin.
Correct.
So it's based on that ideology of me being in my first relationship, trying to wait until I was married. And we ended up not, because of, well, just ask your mom. Because I don't know, I thought I was in love. You know, I was in love. That was my first love. And I'm like, hey, if this is really what you want to do, then sure, we'll do it. And that happened, and the relationship ended. Very terrible way to end my very first relationship. So at that point, I felt like I had already did it. So there was nothing. It was, you know, you sinned once. You already sinned. So it's not as bad to sin again.
That's what you tell yourself.
That's what you tell yourself.
Right.
And then the sin just becomes a thing. And when you grow up with, you know, poor, and just a mother who doesn't really know what she's doing, you know what I'm saying? She didn't grow up in the church. You don't grow up with a father. You don't really have the guidance and the direction to where to go. You just knew that was what you were supposed to do, but I didn't.
Right.
So I can't I can't take it back. You know what I'm saying? After I lost my virginity to the first girl that I was with, like, it was already done. So it wasn't like I could take it back. And I feel like that's like how the generation lives, is like, if you don't grow up that way, or even if you do grow up that way, you can either accept or reject it. Just like we always talk about, you accept or reject the things that you see. So that is my opinion on it. Because once you sin once, it's a lot easier to sin a second time.
So because you've already done it, you just find yourself falling into it after that.
You don't see it as a sin anymore. I forget the biblical term for that. There is a biblical term for it, though. It's like once you sin, it's like easier to continuously do it over and over again. And I think that's what happened in my life, and I think that's what happens in so many other people's life, to where they see that it's not that big of a deal anymore. And that's what I saw.
Right.
And then I started doing it, and then I got into relationships because of it. And then it's like, oh man, okay, a little self-reflection. as you mature and get older, it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing incorrectly.
Mhm.
So that's just my 2 cents on it. And now I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna wait till I'm married, but I'm gonna try and wait as long as possible. I'm definitely not gonna have sex with anybody that I don't see myself marrying at this point.
Mhm.
Is that still a sin? Yeah. It is. This is the real deal. I'm gonna be real, but it's a lot better than where I came from.
Right.
And we're not at that crossroads yet. As soon as that crossroads happen, we'll come to terms with it. But that's just my opinion on it. But I love that question. All right, Mr. Real Deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we put you on.
So, question. So, as men and women who love God and who are now more spiritually mature, why are you now waiting until marriage as He commands? So, this is what I'll say. Right now, with the way that the culture is built, it's not built for waiting until marriage in terms of how we meet and interact with people. So it makes it a lot more difficult. A lot of people right now who are dating are meeting each other on dating apps, or they're meeting each other out somewhere in the street somewhere. So it's not like the old days where you see some girl at a coffee shop and you say, hey, I noticed you reading your book and I think you're beautiful.
Yep.
Here's my phone. Can I have your phone number? I'd like to call you, take you out sometime, and go through that process of courting and dating and things of that nature. Right now, the culture is we meet, we have sex, and then decide if we like each other enough after that to continue. So it makes it difficult because of how I think we're meeting each other initially. And so, because obviously if you meet each other on Tinder, the notion is that we're meeting to do this thing, or whatever the other ones as well. That's what the notion is. So everybody is kind of in that same mindset. I think that depending, let's say, on how you meet somebody, like we always talk about, how you start the relationship is super, super important. So wherever you do start, I think it is certainly possible to do that, but the environment that you meet that person in, I think, creates a precedence for how it's going to continue afterwards. I think it would be great if everybody waited. I'm not going to say it's easy for everybody to wait. It's certainly a difficult thing, but also obviously, if you, like we talked about on the last episode, the way to make it a little bit easier is to not put yourself in positions where sex can happen. If you are looking to wait, just for anybody who is looking to do that, just don't put yourself in those positions for it to happen. But
that is good. But let's say you're dating this person for 3 years, and then you shouldn't move in with the person until you're married. But you're going to have sleepovers after 3 years. But you're not married to them.
Yeah, sleep in separate rooms. You guys,
hey, sleep with that chastity belt on.
Something. And that's the thing, because like obviously, especially like you said, that those late nights to early mornings, you sleeping next to somebody because you attracted to them. If you're dating them, you're attracted to them, and you know what I'm saying. Your body's going to be attracted to that person. So if you're in an environment where those attractions, can mix a little bit, they will mix where they can.
They will.
So you got to do your best to just keep yourself from those situations. But yeah, that's why they're not waiting, because the culture right now in terms of how we're meeting people just doesn't warrant for it. I think that's kind of what the problem is. But we're working on it, Mama, I promise. So Joanna, I would love to hear you on this.
What's your 2 cents?
Whew. So it's actually, I'm feeling like activated with this question, because
it is an activating question.
Well,
it's a real question.
It's because I have different beliefs. Like I believe that I don't believe that sex is something that is a sin. It depends the intention that you're using sex with. I believe that we have those sexual desires for a reason. And if we can just honor those sexual desires and understand them and actually understand what sex is, that our culture would be very different and people wouldn't just be having random sex for no reason.
Right.
I just say that based on also my own experience of like when I was having random sex versus when I chose to wait. When I was having random sex, it was because I was just seeking for something that I thought I didn't have within. To me, God exists within me and all around me. And I feel like that's also what embodiment is being able to understand that God living intelligence that lives within me and how that wants to move through my body. And so if I can have the understanding of what is ego, what is like my conditioning, and what is searching for external validation, and versus what is actually bringing me closer to a person to have a sexual experience that I believe sex can bring us closer to God. That's just my experience and like what I believe in. Then there's a difference between those two. And that's where people need to understand themselves deeper, because yes, there is those deep desires for us to have sex. And those are for a reason, because sex is beautiful and sex shouldn't be shamed. And I believe that, like,
well, the Bible does say that sex is beautiful when you are in covenant.
But when was the Bible written?
Well,
when was the Bible written?
I don't even
you know what I mean? Like, but this is what I'm saying. What did they mean by marriage back then? What if what meant marriage back then is not what it is now? What if it's just, that you're meant to be with this person? I feel like marriage back then looked very different than marriage now. So there's truth.
Literally the 80s looked like way different than it is now.
Well, but it's
people
like
are getting married just to get married, not because they're in love.
Just like a paper and like selling my relationship to the government means that I can now have sex with this person. No, there has to be deep intention beneath that. You know what I mean? Like, I personally just don't live my life based on what external things are telling me.
I like that.
You know what I mean? I live my life based on like what my connection to God is, and my connection to God does not exist externally or through a book that's been like,
what's important is building your relationship
so much
with God. Yeah, that's the one thing.
An internal relationship with God.
Yeah,
that's important.
Because we had that conversation last week. The difference between religion and relationship. Yeah, it's huge, and it's like we're so externally focused that we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to meet God within, and like what that means. Not saying I am God, but there is the living intelligence of God existing in me. Getting stuck in the religion instead of the relationship. And the relationship, guess what, is more important. Goes back to, we need to take space. Because if not, then I'm going to be externally focused, because I'm so externally focused, and I'm going to read the book. I'm going to ask this person about it. I'm going to be that person about it. And it's like, okay, well, how does God speaking to me through me? So it's very different for me. And I believe sex to me is something that can allow you and your partner to meet God even like more, like to actually experience the presence of God in your body together. That is what sacred union means to me. And so, yeah, that's my take on like the marriage thing. No, I like that. Good answer. Yeah. It's a different perspective, and I know it can be triggering for people. So like, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, like it's not for everybody.
Appreciate it.
This is also the real deal. It's not like everybody has opinions and beliefs. Yeah. And I feel like, when it comes to things related to the church, it's my way or God's way or the highway. But it's like there's a difference between religion and relationship. Yeah. And I think that if you give the individual the opportunity to explore that, they're going to be more godlike in their own journey. Absolutely. And spread their own testimony and their own gospel. And isn't that what it's all about anyways? Yes. I feel like that's what Jesus... It's not about read it and follow everything. It's about read it, understand it, embody it. And there we go. Embody it. Embody the teachings. And create that relationship with God, so that way you can share with other people. Yeah. Your own testimony of celibacy conversation trickled into my life when I was like, nah, I don't think I will do that. But now it's like, oh, hey, here we are. I'm so happy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, use that as a testimony. But that's also my thoughts on it is because also like how we're raised in the kind of figures that are in our life. And if you don't see it, you don't know it. If you have your high school sweetheart leave you for your best friend, after you do that, you know what I'm saying? You're going to go down a different path than somebody who it's tough. Abstain, and stayed away. But I also feel like the way that somebody can be sexually expressed and can like connect sexually says a lot about their connection to themselves and their connection to God. Like, if you're free in your expression of that, and that doesn't mean go around give it to everybody, but if you are in an intimate setting, you allow yourself to be your most raw, vulnerable expression in that intimate setting with another person, that just goes to show a lot of your deep connection to God, because God is love. God is freedom. God is just absolute expression without giving a F about what anyone is thinking. Like you already cussed once. You can cuss. Yeah.
She cussed a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have a
wait, did I really?
Yes.
We don't. At the end of the day,
whoops.
We're not changing who you are.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I didn't even notice. Wow. I have a trash mouth.
Well, it's a thing you don't notice until you start to notice. Just like anything else, right? You don't notice it until you
It's
start
just
to notice.
like how I live my daily life.
It's
This is how I
just-
talk.
It's just like loving in the dark, you know.
Well,
So,
I also
let me
like
tie it back.
I also like don't care because it's my expression, and so if people don't like it, I'm like, damn, I'm not in the right room. But I also want to, like, you know, if it is a rule in this setting, if I'm invited somewhere, then I want to be in integrity with that. But in my regular life, I'm like, oh,
When you were
I don't care.
Brandon's life coach, did you cuss him out?
I was his fitness coach. I wasn't his life coach.
Fitness coach.
Fitness. You think I was taking life? No.
Yeah.
He asked for an embodiment session, so don't let him fool you.
He got that convenient amnesia.
No, I'm always intrigued in learning, and you know the other, what you said, tantra, the other lady.
Yeah, get a book.
The other lady that does tantra was very influential in my life.
But how does she do tantra?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. But she led me to read the book, The Untethered Soul, and that helped go through like my start the spiritual side of things, and really start to learn how to sit and connect with myself. And you know, it's not pretty, it's not perfect, but you get better at it year after year. And usually after something bad happens to you, it's a great time to sit and analyze and reflect on those kind of things, to figure out what you did right, what you did wrong, what you can do better, and what you can learn from it, and move on.
And if you don't have if you don't have time to reflect in your busy life, go to a retreat. It'll change your life.
Yeah. Just being in fellowship with other people.
Yep.
Retreats I think are great, and we're going to start one. We're going to do one.
Yeah.
And, Joanna's going to give us some tips after the show. But to wrap things up, we didn't do a deal of the day.
We did not do it.
What is the deal of the day?
We didn't decide on a topic. So
he called it love in the dark.
Love in the dark.
We got to that in the middle of the episode.
Well, we were also trying to figure out how to go live, to be honest.
Yeah, that was kind of.
What is to wrap things up here? We'll call the deal of the day your final thoughts. Yeah. What is the deal of the day, and the final thoughts from you?
So, first of all, Joanna, thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
This is amazing.
So for you, because everything we talked about kind of does intertwine with what you do on a daily basis. When we talk about embodiment, right? We want to talk about, obviously, for us, we talk a lot about personal growth, how to get better, all that other mumbo jumbo. But for you, if you can help us out when it comes to embodiment and basically your self-improvement, what do you feel like, just kind of for the people, is the most important portion of it? I know you talk a lot about a lot of things, but what do you feel like is, if someone was going to start today getting into really wanting to embody their best self, where would you tell them to start?
I would tell them to start women or men, or both.
Let's go both.
Okay. Well, we're going to do women first.
Okay.
Women.
Ladies first, absolutely.
Yeah. Get into your bodies, which means take some time in quiet, light some incense, get a mirror, look at yourself in the freaking mirror, look at how freaking amazing you are. You're probably going to be triggered and see all the parts of you that you don't accept. And close your eyes after you do that. Breathe into your body, put a song on, and start moving your body. Movement is the medicine of the soul. You can drop into your heart. You can drop into your womb. We need more women connected to their wombs. That is the center of our feminine energy. We need to be connected to our wombs. Like, we bring souls from the spiritual realm to the human realm through our womb space. We are so wise. We are so connected to something beyond. Yeah, exactly. Women created all of us. We were so connected to something beyond just the physical realm. Women are really deeply connected to the energy realms. And if they can drop into their bodies, they're going to uncover so much wisdom and magic and understanding of themselves that it's fucking, I wish I had words to describe it. Sometimes I don't, because it's so epic. And I'm still trying to find the words to describe how epic it is. So that's for women. For men, meditate, fast. Men do really well when they're fasting, when they're meditating, when they just take space and time to just be with themselves. And if you have trouble with that, find someone to support you. Find a safe space for you to be supported through the skill that it's a skill. It takes it takes skill. You'd have to invest money, time, and energy into being able to like be in a container where somebody is holding you and teaching you and holding you accountable to take space, because in our world we're all so focused on going, doing, and we don't have a healthy, safe space to go to just like ground down and meditate and be with ourselves. And that's why I do what I do. I am that space for people that feel like they can't, right? And so that's my take on it. Women, get into your bodies. Men, meditate, be in stillness. And if you have trouble doing both because you're just not used to it, find a mentor that can support you in that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's self promo right there. Follow her. I am Joanna Sanchez on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's really important. I mean, I couldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't have my mentors that really helped me during the hardest times of my life. Yeah.
Mentorship is important.
Yeah. We got to be learning from each other, you know?
Did you answer your own question? I was too busy being a cameraman. I forgot.
So the question that I asked her is that when it comes to embodiment and embodying your best self, where would she tell somebody to start? So obviously you're not an embodiment coach, but I would love.
But I feel like he would know.
Yeah, I would love to hear.
The word embodiment. Can you give me the definition again? Because I just feel like that word feels weird.
It's inhabiting yourself.
Toolbox. Tools.
It's inhabiting yourself. It's literally coming online. It's like instead of being ran by your limitations, your fears, and your doubts, you are ran by the essence of who you are, your soul, your essence, God, whatever you want to call it.
You got to sit with yourself. You have to understand what is distracting you from finding your purpose.
Yeah.
Understand that you're not going to find your purpose until you realize what is stopping you. And a lot of times we get lost in the sauce. Literally, if you're in the club all the time, you're really lost in the sauce. Like I've seen it firsthand happen to myself. I've seen it happen to many other people. You have to realize that is whatever it is distracting you.
Yeah,
you're working too much. You're sleeping around too much. You're drinking too much. Whatever it may be, figure out what it is and get rid of it. And once you do that, then you can learn to live in your purpose and figure out what it is you were set here to do. I'm 31 and I still like kind of know what I'm going to do, but I kind of don't. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I know I'm on the right track with everything that I'm starting, but it's like the beginning stages of it all. So it's like, is it going to work out? Who knows? I think it will. It's not working right now, but it might. You know, a year from now, we'll see. We'll see where the other businesses that I'm starting, the nonprofit is. We'll see where those things go. Yeah, you know, they might work, they might not. But that's what I think my purpose is right now. It could change in a year or two. But I only started to realize that after I started to eliminate the distractions and meditate every single day. Yeah. Insight timer. That's huge. Guided meditation. Please meditate. Guided meditation. Have your casual conversations with God or whoever else you believe in throughout the day. I feel like that it's not just like a prayer for me. Yeah. You can work your way to that like a lot of people do. For me, it's a lot of conversation and gratitude. It's like I always use this as a reference of if I get a parking space that's up close to wherever I need to be, that the first person I'm thinking is God. Yeah, you didn't need to do that. You know, when we go to the parking garage and I'm parking on the first floor, hey, God, you didn't need to do that. I appreciate you. I know how busy it is in here, and you saved me a spot down here. Right, God did. You know what I'm saying? So little things like that, just be super appreciative, and you know, it's always a blessing when you don't look like what you've been through. And that's all I got to say. You guys got anything else you want to say?
Wait, he didn't answer.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't answer.
Oh, my God. This is what I got distracted because I was being the cameraman, and I remember the camera being on you.
I know two things at once. I know it's a lot.
Yeah. You know how my brain works.
Yeah.
Barely.
Okay.
No, it's working on overdrive. That's why.
Yeah, it's just working too much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to listen and answer and move the camera around. Yeah. But next live, I'm going to have it good. So, Mr. Deal, close this out, my friend.
So back to the original question, embodiment, where should somebody start and where should they pinpoint to start becoming the best version of themselves? So for me, two things, purpose and intention. So being intentional with your purpose and being purposeful with your intention. Understanding exactly why you're here and what you're looking to do, and everything that you do after that should be basically with an intention to fulfill whatever that purpose is. Being purposeful with your intention, just like we talk about with our relationships, and this can kind of obviously be tied into any other aspect of life, is that we dating to marry, essentially. So if I go and meet somebody, I know my intention is to get married. I'm taking the necessary steps to get there. I'm meeting you with this purpose. This is what my intention is.
Yep.
And I'm going to be intentional and purposeful about every step that I'm taking.
Yes.
And so when it comes to this embodiment, understanding what your purpose is, what are you here to do? We all have things that we're doing, and obviously we're still trying to find ourselves in this crazy life. But finding out exactly what your purpose is, what your passion is, and being intentional towards those things, meditating on it, sitting with it, and focusing on that, I think is a great starting point for that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
That's good.
We love that.
Spitting sauce.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap things up here. We appreciate you guys hanging with us on the live.
Yeah,
and,
thank you for that.
Us
That was
us
epic.
figuring it out. It's a lot to learn, and we'll have a better camera view for the next live. But I was uncertain if it was going to be just me. But,
I assumed it would show all of them, but hey, here we are.
I assumed too, because they're all in there. But we're learning that the live is only one camera view, but. Nonetheless, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Even if it's just one of you every week, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Love
thank
you
you
guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Joanna. You can find her at I am Joanna Sanchez.
Yeah.
On Instagram, she does coaching for females.
Retreats.
Retreats.
I have an Embodiment Academy that is awesome. It's a 13-week school.
And a little academy, and I'll be at the next retreat. A big academy. I'll be at the next retreat that she's doing. All women only.
We're going.
I'm going.
Wait, is it time for you to tell us something that you haven't told anyone? You said you're going to a women's retreat. So
Oh yeah, I identify as whatever I want. No. They need a.
All right,
we're shutting. I'm just male's perspective on life, a gentle male's perspective.
Okay, so then I'll be going.
I just feel called to go to learn how to run my own, because we're gonna do one for you guys. It's gonna be Guys and Girls, the Real Deal podcast.
All right,
retreat. We don't know where, but thank you again. Love you guys, and we'll see you next week.